Thank you for staying with us this far. We continue with what the papers have for us this morning. But in case you are just joining us, this is Good Morning Kenya, and you are in time for In the Headlines. My name is Jain Wambui. Remember, our communication platforms still remain open. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1, and our individual handles are at Regina Manyara, at Doreen, at Victor Olo, and at Jain Wambui. Let me now run you through the front page of the Daily Nation. Quite busy today. Not many stories, just a lot of pictures that have been featured here. Starting with the main read right there. The unlikely king maker. The unlikely king maker, and this is in line with the race to State House with Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who still insists that he will not play second fiddle to anyone, has been termed as the wild card. Could he be the wild card when it comes to these presidential elections? Because as per what the political analysts are saying, ODM leader is sort of courting him to be his running mate, and we also have a deputy president who has been in the just this past weekend in his home ground, areas of Makueni, Machakos, Kitui, the eastern side, just trying to secure the vote, and also urging the Wanjiko right there not to vote for people who want to use intimidation and other political gimmicks in order to just coerce them to vote for somebody who they do not, or rather not going to benefit from. So that is a story that has been featured here. Moving on to the other political story here is in regards to Raila's big day. When it comes to making it official, it has been communicated officially that on the 9th of December, ODM leader Raila Odinga is expected to announce his decision at a political meeting that will be held at the Bomas of Kenya. It is expected that that is when he will officially say whether he is running for presidency or not. And of course, looking at the Azimio la Umoja name, which has been reserved by the Registrar of Political Parties under the request of one of Raila Odinga's closest allies, that is Junet Mohammed. Moving on to the other stories here, one concerning CBC and the teachers training. For those that will be teaching the junior secondary, it is said that the curriculum is ready, and as of January of next year, during the holidays, that is when they will be undergoing training for junior secondary under the CBC curriculum. So when kids are on holiday, teachers will be in school preparing for grade 7. Justice for Agnes. This story continues to unfold slowly, with now UK's Secretary for State for Defence, that is Ben Wallace, who by the way is expected in the country this week, revealed that the Kenya police only made a formal request for DNA samples this week, almost 10 years after her death. But looking at what the Kenyan police have had to say is that they did officially make a request for DNA the night, or rather when her body was discovered. But according to the UK side of the divide, they never received any formal request for samples. And finally, this is something that, of course, I'll be engaging Regina and Doreen when it comes to this particular story, the tussle over the billions of the late Gachagua, with now 2 women whose children are beneficiary of the 2 billion estate. They lost a petition to sort of do away with a city lawyer, that is Njoroge Regeru, from the position of executor of the will. I will be giving you more details as we proceed on with this segment. Regina.
I have a copy of the Standard this morning, and the front page is succession politics and the Kalonzo factor there, just as you rightfully put there, Jane. Why Kalonzo won't be Raila's running mate. So much is happening as far as you know, settling for the presidential candidate who is going to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta come 2022. And clearly the deputy president has put his best foot forward and says he's gunning for the top seat. And there's been a lot of push and pull for the last 2 weeks, as you know, members of the party, other leaders who joined his UDA party say, and there was no pact. There is no pact up until the general elections are conducted in 2022. That is far as UDA is concerned. But now the Kalonzo question. Remember, Raila has been having a conversation with members of the Oka movement, or Oka party, there, Oka alliance, so to speak. And now it says that they have shunned what they're called as boardroom deals on 2022 poll. That is what we have on this particular paper. Oka leaders now promising to seal corruption loopholes and recover stolen money to fund government projects. Also, the Oka leaders say that is principals call on MPs to pass a supplementary budget to ensure IBC gets more money to conduct the mass voter registration, which terminates, I think, sometime this week. And we've been seeing voter apathy, so to speak, with the target. Definitely IBC will not meet its 6 million target of new registered voters by the time that particular window closes. Oka principals, this include Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi, KANU chairman and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula and former Lugari MP Cyrus Jirongo, who dismissed reports that some of them are holding secret meetings with other presidential aspirants. Succession Politics 2022 taking center stage on the front page of this particular paper. At the same time, we have plans there. Raila plans to pick central partner that has scuttled the reunion talks with Oka. Now, in this particular article, the kicker reads, the president wants opposition leaders to unite and create a formidable force against his deputy, that is William Ruto. Mudavadi and Kalonzo have said they will not be coerced into backing a candidate. Front page of the Standard, matters of politics and a bit of human interest here, focusing on matters of climate change. We understand that the president is going to be attending COP26 today, as of today, and he's going to be leading the country in ensuring, from where he sits, even the position that Kenya has in the UN and such, and as a country in itself, that, the Paris Climate Agreement is actually implemented. One of the issues that are going to be taking center stage is the issue of, lowering the carbon emissions there in light of climate change. The header here being, it's a do or die in climate crisis fight. And further on matters of education, and this was also a story that we highlighted, students injured in Buruburu school fire. That's just a sneak peek of what we have. Sneak peek of what we have on the front page of the Standard this morning, including the winners, male and female, for the 42 standard Nairobi Marathon. That is Elisha Kiprop Bano and Valentine Kipketer. Doreen?
All right, so let's come to the People's Daily. I mean, looks like today, being the first day of November, all these papers just have everything to do with politics, and that is what has been centered this morning on the People's Daily. Of course, that story has also been highlighted on the various dailies there. This in regards to what the Oka team is now saying, that they'll not be pushed back. That is what the Oka team is now saying, that leaders say the notion they have to support somebody else is out of place, and just saying that voters should decide. This is also what the ANC party leader said, that is Musalia Mudavadi, that the decision lies with Kenyans and not a question of who should be joining with who to team up, but that is squarely based on how Kenyans will decide on that one. Also, state machinery won't intimidate me. That is what the DP is now saying. Remember, as of last week, we had already established, based on what some political pundits were saying, is that perhaps if the DP continues to go the way he is doing, going at it alone, he might not just clinch the top job. That is what some political pundits were saying there, because of just choosing to going at it alone. This in regards to next year's general election, and perhaps what has also largely informed his bottom-up economic approach, just trying to compare what he is doing with what the former premier is doing, because you've also seen him really going to places as he is popularizing his bid and choosing to go through it by what we call the region kingpin. So this is now what has also informed part of what the DP is now saying, that state machineries or anything else will not intimidate him, and just also reiterating what ANC's party leader said there, that it also again lies with Kenyans, squarely lies with Kenyans. That is in regards to choosing of leaders, and this is again come next year, that is the 2022 general elections. Coming to matters IEBC and perhaps voter listing, already IEBC also has established that as of now they have registered about 800,000 Kenyans. Still, the article continues to highlight some of those areas in the country where they were really expecting to register a good number of voters, given that those are one of those key areas looked at, but they haven't really quite done that. These are areas of Mount Kenya, Western region, and some sections of Nyanza area. Also saying that part of what they witnessed, even as they were doing this in this 1 month exercise, which is expected to end on Thursday, that is on the 4th there, is that they really were able to establish that a lot of young people were actually disinterested in even registering as voters. And we also saw some regions in the country where they're trying to entice Kenyans to come to get registered, where they're also trying to give them food, cook for them food, just in a way to entice them to register as voters. Remember that we also said that this is your right, and especially your constitutional right as a Kenyan. So go get registered, go vote come 2022. And again, still on that IEBC matter, as of now, it stands that a 40 billion tender could now delay election planning. This is as mentioned by the IEBC chair, that is Wafula Chebukati, as the PD has already established that there's a CS and some officials who are just pushing for this tender to be given to this Dubai-based firm. And as the PD is establishing it, is that this is as a result of selfish interest, which is not sitting well with the IEBC. So it just turns out that perhaps if this continues, this is the wrangles or the wars therein, it might force the IEBC to source these materials single-handedly the way it did in 2013 and 2017. But of course, when you get to the details, I'll be telling you more about what the IEBC is planning to do in regards to that. Still sticking up on matters elections, we already know how social media is a very big tool, and especially when it comes to elections. It just turns out that bloggers are now on high demand ahead of 2022 general elections, with 3 key bloggers being highlighted in this particular article. We have Robert Alai, Dennis Itumbi, and Cyprian Nyakundi, and all the three of them rather just being put on which parties they're supporting or which coalitions they're supporting therein, and describe here highlighting how important it is to even for political aspirants to know how best they can at least decide and choose on which bloggers, because as it seems and as it turns out, social media is a powerful tool, and bloggers have a huge following, so perhaps they can also inform the kind of decisions that Kenyans make. So that is how the front page of the People's Daily looks like. A quick run through on the Star. We still have the same stories, matters to do with politics. This is also in regards to what the Oka chiefs and Oka leaders are saying, that they will not be cowed, they will not be derailed also in their bid on seeing on whether who to join and who not to join. They are at it alone. This story has been cut out from page 4 through 6 of the Star this morning. Still matters to do with IEBC voter registration, seeing that it comes to an end on 4th, and there was also that conversation of not extending it because of financial strains. And again, to that story that I had mentioned to you earlier when we were looking at how the roads were looking like, this is in regards to the bus rapid transit system. Clearly, if you're someone who uses Thika Superhighway, then you have noted that some sections of that road has been closed, and this is another system that the state is also coming up with to try and see how best they can reduce the traffic flow. I mean, as it stands, Kenyans already lose about 2 billion every year just by being stuck on traffic. So this is why you've been seeing a lot of road works here in the city and even beyond, and again trying to also see how they can introduce new forms to again see how best they can reduce the traffic flow, and that is why we have that bus rapid transit system. And again, also the article highlights how the state is planning to roll out this BRT, not just Thika Superhighway. There's also some sections of Ngong Road which have been earmarked for this kind of project, as well as various roads in Nairobi and even beyond. That is how the People's Daily and the Star look like this Monday.
Doreen, you've mentioned that particular story concerning bloggers, and I remember, I think it was last week or the week before, I'm not too sure about the date, and Alai, he put out a tweet saying that he watched the CCTV involving the Ndishu brothers and said that we judged them too quickly. And as soon as he put out that tweet, the conversation around gender-based violence and, the Ndishu brothers, it almost stopped. Or rather, the buzz about it really diminished just from his tweet, and that goes to show the power that some of these bloggers have. And that is why also politicians, they are fishing for them, they're hunting for them. Andike kastori kumhusu one like this, like that.
Yeah, they're going for specific bloggers. Specific bloggers.
And also looking at Alai, he has had quite the rubbing shoulders with the other other politicians, other very well-known people in society. So they pick and choose who will say what, at what time, where, how, and when. All that comes into play. Now, let me come back to the Daily Nation. And look at this particular story that I had mentioned to you concerning ex-governors, two lovers who dealt a blow. So this is the story of two women whose children are beneficiaries of the 2 billion property that was owned by former Nyeri Governor Nderitu Gachagua. They lost the bid to remove the city lawyer, that is Njoroge, from the position of the executor of the late politician's will. What they had accused him of was negligence for failing to cater for the school fees of their two children, who are aged 6 and 12. They allege that the children are at risk of dropping out of school or being removed owing to the huge school fees balances that they have. But speaking to this, when this particular case was dismissed by Justice Lydia Achode, she told the two women that under Article 53 of the Constitution, they have equal parental responsibility over the subject minors. And in her own words, she said, it is therefore not for them to rely entirely on their minors' bequest for their maintenance. They should be alive to the fact that the person who worked and maintained these minors in a certain standard of life has long since died, and the applicants must learn to cut their coat according to the cloth at hand. All right. So looking at what the will states, the two children, the one aged 6 is entitled to 5% of the governor's net estate, about 100 million. And the other one aged 12 is entitled to 2%, about 40 million Kenya shillings. And looking at what the judge also went on to say, that from what she has been furnished with, the pandemic is one of the reasons as to why there's been delay in the liquidation of this property in order to distribute the proceeds to all the beneficiaries, and also owing to the pandemic, which resulted to the closure of Olive Gardens, which was the key income generator. We're looking at this particular estate. On the other hand, we have the lawyer who actually said that he had made some advancement to these two ladies, totaling to 15 million Kenya shillings, and they also received each 2,882,000 as gratuity from the county government. So she concluded by saying, in any event, they have not demonstrated why they would be better managers of the late governor's estate.
Okay.
Now, here are two women who are demanding to be given their children's inheritance, the 5% and the 2%, and they actually went to court to say that the executor of the will is not giving them the money that he's supposed to give them. And the court tells them it is your responsibility to take care of these children. It's 50-50. Stop depending on the kids' inheritance.
I agree. On that, I agree.
Yes.
And this comes back to the fact that, you know, or rather that we have monetized our children. A majority.
Yes.
The cases that we're getting on mainstream media, social media, you know someone who knows someone. For them, their children are a way of getting financial support. Yet you fail to understand, or rather, I don't know if it's selective amnesia. This child took a man and a woman to actually come to this earth, right? So what role are you playing as a mom? Or what role are you playing as a dad for this fact? It is a two-way traffic. The child needs both the support from both. Actually, the Children's Act Cap 39 is very clear about this situation. So for a parent to think, you know what, I need my child's inheritance. I'm sure in that particular will, it has not been made public, but I'm trying to see that the reason the executor has not given this money is because there was a clause. Maybe they said this is going to be held in trust until they turn 18.
Actually,
there must be a reason.
Let me just give you a response to that.
Yeah.
It says that their share is supposed to be held by their respective mothers in trust.
In trust.
Yes, by their respective mothers in trust.
So what is the issue then with the executor not? If that was a clause, that was an aspect that was put in the will, then I think the executor of the will should actually abide by what that particular document says.
And actually, the executor of the will is also one of them. Another person who was also left in charge was the former governor's younger brother, that is Rigathi Gachagua. And one of his friends, also Mwai Madhenge. Yes.
Wow.
So, okay, just finish up before we get to share our thoughts.
So, in my view, parents need to put their differences aside and focus on the children, especially either in separation, because death is, we have no control of death. Everybody, no one is going to survive this life, so you live only once. But I'm sure even as you're living, you're making arrangements, pertinent arrangements, that those you leave behind are going to be taken care of. So as a parent, and I'm speaking as a parent and a woman for that, I think it's the high time, if you haven't been taking up your responsibilities as bringing up your child, you need to know that other than just giving birth and nurturing the child, that we are in the 21st century, that there are things you can do for your son and your daughter without necessarily relying on the father, because God forbid something happens, like they pass on without leaving a will, then you get yourself in such a situation.
And there have been many of such.
What do you do? And you get yourself in such a situation. And we know court processes take years, take time. So what will you be doing in the meantime, in the interim? Will your children be suffering because you're waiting for the long legal process and such? You need to have something. Kuwa na kitu kwa mfuko. Akiba si mbaya, by the way. You need to save for a rainy day. You need to have something.
Let me just say, perhaps I may want to understand where the women are coming from, because obviously a father and a mother to bring a child, so clearly they all have to support. But again, the point you're making is true. And maybe we cannot even assume that perhaps both of them are dead, so what happens? As in itself, even whatever is happening is already tiresome. Like the energy you're putting to continuously trying to go for this money which was written in the will, as opposed to you using that energy to get a thing or two here to support that child. I mean, where are they channeling their energies towards? Where are they channeling their energies towards? We need to know so much
about that particular will, because if you look at it, if it was to be held in trust, then why is the executor not doing so?
And you see, that's actually where, okay, I have a particular issue with, because it clearly states held in trust by their mothers, okay? And they, according to what the Justice Lydia said, that between the periods of September 2017 up to September of 2021, they have received 15 million totaling, advancements totaling to 15 million, both of them, when it comes to the upkeep of the children. So you don't know how much each has received, but the will says that this children's inheritance should be held in trust by their mothers. By the fact that the executor is refusing to, or rather has refused or has not been able, we don't know the actual details, that is one thing that I have an issue with. But one thing that I agree with what this particular justice said, that they must learn to cut their coat according to the cloth at hand. Okay, because one of the reasons why they wanted this executor of the will to be removed was because they say the kids have huge school fees balances. And you can imagine, these are not just regular schools, if you're being honest. These are not just your kawaida private school here or public school there. This must be international schools. And school fees is not cheap in some of these schools. So also looking at what, Ray, you're saying that, as a mother of this children or this child, you also need to be responsible for your child, in as much as maybe your partner was the provider in all aspects, but they're not here anymore. So will you still be cutting your coat according to that cloth that you used to have, and looking at the cloth that you have right now is this size and you are used to this studio? You see? Adapt. Adopt and adapt.
And as at that time, the breadwinner was alive, so obviously money was coming in.
And the kids are so oblivious.
But I'm also asking a question. I also have a question. This has just made me so fine. We've had 100 million. How much? How long? If you're talking about recurring bills and such, how much can 1 million sustain you? Is it enough to sustain you for a lifetime if you do not invest it? Are you getting? We may actually have this. Let's not even talk about this case in point. So there's some money somewhere.
Yes.
But what are you doing to ensure that, you know, you generate more
And
for
it's
future?
sustainable.
You know? Are you planning to do an investment? You know, we also need to, there's that money that, I think if there's money somewhere, the people lose sight of what about tomorrow.
And actually, Ray, just to agree with what you're saying, here during the delivery of this decision, the justice actually said that they have not demonstrated how they used the money that was advanced to them. And consequently, and also what they were given by the county government as gratuity, it was 2,882,494 Kenya shillings each. Okay? They have not demonstrated why they will be better managers of the estate.
Could that be a reason why the executor perhaps is still holding?
This goes to what Ray is saying. You know, they have they invested that money to show, by the way, the money that we got, this is what we did with it. And we need the rest of it to also make sure that our kids' future is secured. You see?
Yesterday was Sunday. I want to take you to a certain Bible verse. I'm not sure which verse, but it tells of the people. Talanta. The story, the parable about the talents. You know, there's one was given 5, there's one was given 2, there's one was given 1, right? Well, one went and thought to invest, and when the boss came back, said, by the way, you had given me this, and this is what I have to show.
The coins.
The other decided, you know what? Let me go bury this, yeah? Because I'm not too sure about my boss. He's not, you know, he's not straight. He might actually want his money back. And I want to have his coins back when he comes back. So if you're not responsible for the little that you have and thinking about the future, then how can you be bestowed how can it be bestowed upon you more?
So
you know?
Catch 22.
So in that story, there's more that meets the eye.
Yes, there's so much.
More that
Other than
definitely.
just yes, there's so much. Because, well, if the will is very clear, the executor maybe is arguing that this the ladies have not demonstrated that they can be better executors of.
So what's the point of giving them more?
But the issue is when this was actually being drawn up, the person who drew it up and the person who is there, you know, the late, found them fit to actually do that.
Yeah.
So that's a legal tussle, but we'll be keeping tabs on that.
And also, as we get to just close this particular story, this goes to show why it is important to prepare even after your time. Looking at the kids you're going to be leaving behind, you know, have an organized way of making sure that they will be taken care of. If you have that capacity, of course, you know, because we have, and I'm sure you guys have come across the many cases that are still in court, dragging over years. Even the property ends up being, you know, frozen, held by the courts, decades, because the families haven't been able to agree on how that property is going to be distributed.
And also sometimes I say, try as much as you can to also make something for yourself. Don't be relying so much on what will I get when they die. Try as much. Let it just be a bonus. But try as much, because it also saves you a lot of stress, headache, lifestyle. Imagine the lifestyle you are getting because you have to chase person X due to give you what. You know, try as much as you can to make your own.
Over to you, Ray.
Well, just to even conclude on that, I'm thinking as a parent, yeah, the investments that we make them for our children, right? And in this day and age when, you know, we are living in a capitalistic state, let's be very, very honest. And even within relationships, you find that there are people who are out for material. They're not there because of the value that you have bestowed unto them or the value that you expect that they would bestow unto you for who you are.
Demanding a seat at the table.
Take away the table. Take the table. If they don't give you space at the table, take the table. Trust me, they'll come chasing after you. Carry the table and run. They'll chase after you. But that being the case, we need to invest for our children. So if you have property, this is my thought. If you have property, let it be in the names of the children, because the children are children. But now the issue who is going to be the guardian? Who is going to be the ward? Is this people you trust, that they have your best interests at heart where the children are concerned? That's a catch-22 for a majority of parents who are doing these investments, because why are we waking up at 3:30 in the morning? Why are we always at work delivering our best? It's because it's because of our children.
But you remember, on the other side, there are also children who just wait for you to die and then squander all that.
Yeah.
There are those
That's
ones.
the other thing.
What values are you
even
instilling on them? What values are you passing down onto them? Do they believe in just chilling and waiting for you to deliver, or do also, you see, it starts small. I remember a lady in church saying that we need to teach our children values, that children need to learn, and she was giving an example that after lunch or dinner, be as it may, after you have prepared the meal and served them, ensure when they're done with their meals, they take their plates, and they come and even wipe the table. Or even when they are preparing that meal, they ask them to come and prepare the dining table, so that they know this is a concerted effort, that they can actually do something to enrich their lives. It starts small, responsibilities and such. Whoa, we've gone way far. Anyway, coming back to stories that are making headlines, I wanted to go to more human interest stories. And this is on a very, very lighter note before we take our short break. Remember, this is November, first day of November, and here in studio we're going to be participating in a celebration, worth the headlines on social media as well as mainstream media. It's because Kakamega has met which the Luo meets.
Really?
There's a union of such. Nyakach. So now Nyakach and Omusalava have met, and we will be witnesses to that. Let's talk about the meals that are going to be served there. So there's this particular article here that says fried or raw white ants are a delicacy among the Luya.
Ants.
Doreen, white ants. Just asking because I'll be in attendance.
They're called kumbe kumbe in Swahili.
Confirm.
Hey.
If in your meal plan kuna kumbe kumbe, we need to know.
Raw or fried?
Yes.
Let me tell you, kwanza Luyas eat that thing raw.
Unazichuna
They
zikianguka.
just go to that kahole and remove and eat as they are like that.
Chumvi bila chumvi.
Ziko na kasube naturally.
They have everything. And they are nutritious. Good source of protein, they say.
Where do the two legs go?
Where do they what?
Ziko mdomo.
The ants have legs.
Actually what usually happens, you see when it rains, they have a tendency to just be somewhere inside the kahole. Well, they can be fried if you prefer, but people from my side sometimes prefer just eat them the way they are, the way they came from the creator.
Manna from heaven.
You remove the two wings, even the legs, unatoa legs za nini. Those things
That's part
like
of
that.
the crunch. The legs are part of the crunch.
They are part of the menu.
Ooh. Hotter.
But they wouldn't be there. It's just a thing for a try.
Snack. Unatunyima snack.
Every tribe has a delicacy, what it is they prefer the most.
So, this is an article that has been totally fleshed out for you in one of the papers that you're sampling. And says that between 2 kilogram, a 2 kilogram tin goes for between 1,000 bob and 1,500. Man, that's quite some money.
That's good
money.
More
expensive than a 2 kg of maize flour.
They are rich in
1,000.
Hii hata imepita kilo 5 ya mchele.
Lakini wadudu.
Tisikia vile Regina anasema ati wadudu. Ziko na manufaa kwa mwili. Kuna manufaa ya aina yake.
I think I draw the line where I have to take intestines with my
something that is alive. Enye inasonga songa.
Ati ni wewe ndio unaimalizia kwa mdomo.
Sasa ukiweka kwa mdomo unasikianga kakipasuka toa.
I have not eaten the raw one, so I can't give an experience on that. Only that I know it's something that
no, thank you.
They will do it.
It reminds me of a roach. When you step on a cockroach.
No, those are other ones.
That sound that goes like. Ooh. Anyway, those are culture and tradition. If you want to learn more, this particular newspaper has all that fleshed out, and indeed it is a cash cow, so to speak, with a 2 kilogram tin fetching between 1,000 and 1,500. So if you're looking to make some quick money, especially in the rainy season, kumbe kumbe it is. kumbe kumbe it is. Now let's talk about the safety of our children in dormitories, and this comes heavily from the story that has been highlighted on various media houses. Now scores are hospitalized after the Buruburu girls dormitory fire. So what do you think about that as we come to a close? Are our children really safe within these learning institutions? Borders, so it may. Because government came out with, directives as to how we need to have a fire exit, we need to have a fire extinguisher, kids should not be clamped together within the cubicles, all that. But is this the reality on ground? We start off with you, Doreen. What do you think?
I think that children in these schools, high schools, primaries, boarding, and even those days, nonetheless, they just survive by the grace of God. Because when you talk about these policies, they are always there. And let me tell you, there's a lot that happen in schools, just minus the fires that we keep talking about, and this perhaps comes from that story of Buruburu girls that just happened the other day. There's a lot that happens in schools that we even sometimes go without having a conversation about, like issues of bullying. And they always keep saying that we need to have policies, structures, ways in which these children can be protected, because some of these things, a child may even get scared to tell you as a parent because someone has threatened in one way or the other. I mean, when you hear of cases like fires, sometimes the school just say, don't go saying whatever it is that that perhaps happened, because you might taint the school in a bad way or in a bad light and things like those. And so even when you talk about these policies and structures, really, who even pays attention to ensure that they actually are put the way they need to be put? I think it's just the grace of God. There's a lot that happens you sit with high schoolers especially, and they'll tell you there's a lot. I can tell you for sure there's a lot that happens in schools. And boarding, to be precise,
to send a boarding. Jane, what do you think? Especially now, after, you can imagine parents who were seeing these clips on social media, because I think the stories were breaking on social media before mainstream media. If you were, from a parent point of view, what would go through your mind?
Looking at the video that I've seen, it was somebody who was actually recording from outside the school.
Imagine, yes.
Looking at one girl just holding on to the frame of the window, lost grip, fell down. Then the other one had to jump to just avoid getting, consumed by the blaze. But according to actually a report that has been featured here, this dormitory houses 112 girls.
That's a single dormitory.
112. And that's where I have an issue as a parent, because, 1 till 112 in one space. So you can imagine what a risk it was for these girls. We are just happy that no one was consumed by the fire. All the ones that sustained minor injuries were taken to the hospitals. But that in itself, we don't know the size of the dormitory, so we can't also judge on that particular point. But honestly, when it comes to these policies, it's that two sides of the same coin, because we have the ministry with the guidelines here and we have the schools. How practical are the infrastructures to adjust to these policies that are being put forth by the ministry? How are they being facilitated to ensure that they adjust to these new requirements that they are being given, not even new, that they were given years ago, to adjust to these new requirements that each school needs to adjust to? Because cubicles, I am sure, would have avoided this dorm being raised down to ashes. According to this report, dorm inafagilia kila kitu, open space, as opposed to cubicles, which would restrict the fire from spreading.
So, according to the reports, Jean, here, the principals, she told journalists and parents that the school has 45 cubicles and only one caught fire. Having been a survivor,
a cubicle that has 112.
I'm not even going to get to that, because I have lived this life in my high school, and I've never want to go back to high school for that and many other reasons. When the fire, even as a child, when you're in such a situation, you only think, and it's human, you only think about your survival. So there's panic, there's anxiety, there's no coordination when you're running to safety. Children fall off. Students fall over each other. They step on each. Some other injuries are not even caused by the fire itself. It's because of the panic. So, I hope
just looking at something as simple as the direction of the door.
Yeah.
When they're trying to escape.
And for them to have actually opted to use the window,
the direction and the size.
Maybe the door was not accessible, or other children had already crowded at the at the door. Well, remember, we were just sampling some of the stories that have been captured on the various dailies that we have with us this morning. You can get further detail on what we have done as a KBC news desk on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. Being 1st of November 2021, we take a quick breather. We'll be right back with our informative discussions in not too long.